Hi, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to Facebook Live with me, Chris Johnson, CEO of Advanced Genetics. And today, guys, I'm going to be sharing with you some tips on how to warm up properly. Now, I got to be honest. I've been reading the magazines for a long time. I've been studying nutrition and training forever. And I have to say, one of the things that has always bothered me the most is that I never really saw in these workout plans how much I should warm up when doing a particular exercise. Um, hey, Chad, welcome. Oh, you know what I forgot, guys? I forgot to go live with on Instagram as well. So let me do that. Boom, there we go. Hey, Tom, welcome. All right, so we've got the Instagram live going as well. So anyone that joins us there is coming in. I'll just repeat myself super quickly. Today's video is sponsored by Advanced Genetics, which is my company, and I am really excited to tell you guys about a new product that we are going to be releasing this week. It is actually a familiar product. However, we put a twist on this one, and this is our Warfare pre-workout. This is the new Citrus Slam. This is stevia sweetened. So this is going to be one of the very first pre-workouts that is stevia sweetened and tastes really, really good. Quick rundown on Warfare: per 2 scoops, 6 grams of citrulline malate, going to give you that real nitric oxide pump. It has a full dose of betaine. It has caffeine, synephrine, plus a few other stimulants in it to give you an incredible mind focus, mind-muscle connection, which we talked about in a previous video, how important that is, as well as that full nitric oxide pump, which we also talked about in that previous video, talking about how important that pump is, how important that mind-muscle connection is to help bring up weak body parts and to improve upon every other body part. So check it out. It's going to be landing in stores over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So check it out. You can read more about Warfare and our other products at www.agarmy.com. So back to today's topic. Today's topic is proper warm-ups. And as I was saying, as someone that's read magazines forever, one of the things that has always bothered me is that very few of the workouts listed in the magazines talk about warm-up sets. This basically says exercise 1, first set, 10 to 12 reps, second set, 8 to 10, next set, 6, whatever. But it didn't say, okay, so was that first set, is that considered the warm-up set, or am I supposed to do, 2 to 3 warm-up sets before that, or am I supposed to go in and do a little bit of cardio to get my blood flowing? Should I use bands? Like, how do I do it, or do I just jump right in? Is that first set the first set, and doesn't matter? I'm good to go because I'm training in maybe a slightly higher rep range. So if you're like me and you've encountered the same sort of thing, what I'm going to do today is tell you how I warm up, and then hopefully that will help shed some light on things. And feel free, we're on Facebook Live. We're also on Instagram Live. So if you have questions as we go along, feel free to ask. It doesn't have to be on the topic of warming up. It can be on any topic. I suspect we're going to move through this warm-up topic rather quickly. Now, I've been really fortunate in my 20 years plus of training. I have never encountered a serious injury, and I think that's in part to the way that I warm up. So now I'm going to tell you guys how I personally warm up, but remember, there are some caveats to this. If warming up will depend a little bit on age. If you're an older lifter, you may need a little bit more time to lift. If you have any injuries or restrictions in any of your joints or muscles, you may also need to warm up a little bit more than what I may prescribe for myself. Also, if you have blood flow issues, difficulties, take warfare. As long as you don't have any heart issues, that will certainly help with blood flow, increasing nitric oxide. But also, if you do, if you do have some blood flow problems, you may have to warm up a little bit more. If you train in extremely cold places, which Halifax, Nova Scotia can get pretty darn cold in the wintertime, you may want to warm up a little bit more, especially if you haven't dressed properly and you get to the gym and you're still kind of cold. Remember, the muscles are very much like elastic bands and the tendons and things, and they can be very almost brittle when they're cold, and you are a lot more susceptible to injury when you're cold. So this is why warming up is quite important. Now, how much do I actually warm up? Now, remember, guys, we're talking about weight training specifically here. We're not talking about MMA. We're not talking about jogging. We're not talking about other sports. We're talking primarily about weight training. So this is what I do when I go to the gym. Normally, I'll dress nice and warm for whatever the weather presents itself. So this is the same thing I do in the winter as I do in the summer. So when I get to the gym, I'm not cold. I'm not wearing a t-shirt in the middle of January. I wear things to keep me warm. So I might even have a tiny bit of a sweat on. I might actually overdress a little bit when I'm going to the gym, so that I'm never cold. My body temperature is never too low, and my joints and things are not necessarily warmed up, but they're not cold. So I'm going to be a little less susceptible to any sorts of injuries. All right, so when I get to the gym, what I do is I will warm up based on my particular body parts that I'm going to be training that day. So when I get to the gym and I'm going to train, let's say I'm going to train shoulders. What I'll do is I'll actually warm up with the very first exercise that I'm going to be doing that day. I may throw in a few other exercises as well. So let's talk about shoulders. I like to usually start with a lateral raise. So I'll warm up with a lateral raise. I find lateral raise tends to get the blood in all three heads of the shoulder, depending how I hold the dumbbells. So I can come a little bit more to the front. I don't know if you can see that in the video. That kind of works up the anterior as well as the side heads of the shoulders. And I can do some straight out, and then I can do some just kind of with a little bit more emphasis on the rear delts. And I'll just use 5 to 10 pounds, very light weights. And I'll concentrate on pumping blood into that area. And that is basically, folks, how I warm up. I just warm up that particular body part, usually only using 1 or 2 exercises to get the blood flowing in that body part, as well as the surrounding areas just a little bit. I don't tend to do any sort of cardio. I don't tend to do any walking or biking or anything like that. I have in the past tried that with legs, doing some bike, just getting on and pumping some blood in there. I didn't really find it helped or hindered. So I didn't really find any real benefit to it. Like I said, though, if you do find that you're cold, or if you're a little bit older in age, or you have some injuries and things, it may make sense to warm up a little bit more than perhaps I do. But I actually read about this way to warm up from Dorian Yates, who was one of the masters, one of the first guys to really train with a heavy duty style of training, which is basically training super high intensity with as few sets as possible. And he believed that if you did too many warm-up sets, you would actually start to inhibit your recovery ability and actually take away from your actual workouts. And I tend to agree with this. Although I don't prescribe to just 1 or 2 sets of an exercise, at least not at the current moment. I have done that in the past. I do believe that if you can possibly over warm up the muscle and actually take away from your work sets. And when I prescribe programs to people, that's exactly what I do. I prescribe them with the actual work sets, and before the exercise, I'll say how many warm-up sets to do. And normally what I'll do is I'll do 2 to 3 warm-up sets before my very first exercise. And then depending on how I feel or how different the second movement is, I may perform 1 to 2 warm-up sets for that next exercise. Usually by the third exercise, I don't need any warm-up sets at all, unless it's working in a completely different part of the muscle. I'll just jump right into it. And that's what I find works best for me. So to give you a summary, first exercise, he's very lightweight, just concentrate on pumping the blood in there. 2 to 3 sets, that tends to do it for me. On the second exercise, I might need 1 or 2, depending on how different the movement is. And then on the third and consecutive exercises, I might not need any warm-up sets at all. I might just jump right into it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that clarifies warm-ups for you guys, and maybe it helps you out and shed some light on at least what I do and what I recommend to most lifters. Once again, I will reiterate, if you have injuries or restrictions or blood flow problems, you may want to warm up just a little bit more in order to grease up those joints and get the blood, an extra little bit of blood into those injured areas, so that you're able to train. Now, of course, if you're super injured, I don't recommend necessarily training hard at all. Maybe just doing warm-up type exercises to keep the blood kind of flowing in there, give the muscle some nutrients to help with recovery. If you guys didn't join me earlier, at noon, I had a Facebook Live broadcast with Adam Olenbeck, my co-promoter for the Naturals Classic, which is coming up April 7th, 2018. And we have just opened registration today for that show. So feel free to check that out at naturalsclassic.com. We have also opened registration for the 180 Transformation Contest. It's the 180-day transformation contest. And we have also made tickets available. Tickets available right from our website. There's no third party involved. So you don't have to worry about any extra charges or anything like that. It just comes directly from us, and you're going to find that the registration process, the ticket process, the sign up for the transformation challenge are all pretty simple. Adam's done an amazing job setting up that website. So once again, it's naturalsclassic.com. All right, so now we're going to open this up for questions. Eric asks on Facebook, he says, does your set include the warm-up? So for example, if I do 4 sets, does that include warm-up? Eric, it really depends on how many work sets you're going to do. So say your goal is 4 work sets, then no, you do 1 to 2 warm-up sets previous to that, depending again on whether it's your first exercise, your second, your third, or your fourth. So each consecutive exercising needing less and less of a warm-up, because the blood is already pumping. Hopefully the blood is pumping in there after those first 2 to 3 warm-up sets and you're ready to go. But certainly by the time you get to your second exercise after doing 2 to 4 work sets, you should certainly be feeling it. If you're not feeling it, if you're not getting good blood flow after that first exercise, perhaps that's an exercise that's not really working for you, and you want to maybe consider looking at some other exercises, because the blood flow is very important. The pump is very important in order to make progress in that particular muscle group that you're training. So we are now open for questions on warm-ups or any other question that you might have relating to fitness, to nutrition, etc. So feel free to ask away. I'm here for you guys. If you know somebody that you think might benefit from watching this video at a later date, who maybe wasn't able to join us today, please tag them and they can watch the video. It'll be here on my Facebook profile for, I guess, eternity, or as long as Facebook is up. And also, please like and share as well if you found that it was beneficial to you, or if you think maybe someone else you know might benefit from it as well. So Mike has a great question. He says, what weights do you recommend to use for your warm-up sets? He actually says 40 to 50%. So let's say I don't really pick... I don't consciously work that out, actually. I just kind of pick a weight that I think will be will be light. And I actually will progressively increase the weight for my warm-up sets. So for example, we were talking about lateral raises. I'll probably do a set with just simply 5 pounds in each hand for laterals, and I'll do kind of like a tri-set. So I'll do 10 to 15 in front, 10 to 15 to the side, 10 to 15 back. And then I'll do weight maybe a minute, and then I'll do 10 pounds again. And it depends on the day, it depends on the rep range that I'm going for, and also depends on the tempo, how heavy I actually get. I may only do the work set with 25 pounds if my tempo is very slow, or I may go up to 40 pounds if my tempo is not quite as restricted. So the warm-up for me isn't really a calculated thing based on my actual work sets. It's just basically something very light that I can handle very easily, and the goal is just to kind of get some blood in there. But it's a great question, and yeah, I do progressively increase that if I need to, the warm-ups, just to get me a little bit closer to my actual work sets. So James asks, when it comes to cardio, do you feel fasted cardio is more effective than doing it immediately after you train? Yes, I do actually, James. And the reason why is actually there's some science that shows that an enzyme is kind of switched off, a muscle building enzyme is switched off. I actually went over this in a previous video. I think it's the cardio video where I explained it a little bit more in depthly, but for purposes of just kind of going over it briefly, I'll use the terminology of an enzyme. So if you do cardio immediately post weight training, you actually shut off a little bit of this muscle protein synthesis enzyme, and you will not get the absolute most out of your weight training routine. So it is best to split them up. And the absolute best time to do your cardio, in my opinion, is fasted first thing in the morning. So spreading out the workout by at least a couple hours, the workout and the cardio. If you weight train first thing in the morning, then you can do your cardio in the afternoon. It's perfectly fine. But I do recommend splitting them apart. I realize that doesn't fit everyone's schedule. So if you have no other option, then yes, you would do your weight training first, followed by your cardio. Jeremy asks about Cooldown. I don't do a cool down after my workout. So by cool down, I figure you probably mean maybe doing some light cardio or something to kind of flush the blood or something like that. I don't do that, but I do stretch post workout. I do a lot of stretching, and I do a lot of under tension type stretching. So I will actually use either weight or I will use my body weight to, I don't want to say forcibly stretch, because that sounds a little bit aggressive, but I do stretch with intention, and I do stretch quite hard, and the stretching is actually quite a lot more painful than the workout sometimes, really trying to stretch that fascia post workout. So I guess if you consider stretching a cool down, then I certainly do. I certainly do that. Tyler has a great question on Instagram. He says, warming up to max lifts. Can you talk about that? So yes, Tyler, if you're kind of like in a powerlifting type, power bodybuilding type routine where you really are going for max lifts, which has some certain benefit. I know actually Greg Doucette is who's on our team, our advanced genetics team. He does what I would call more like a power bodybuilding type thing. Mike O'Hearn, who's a very famous personality in the fitness world, he also does a powerlifting or power bodybuilding type workout. So what I would recommend for somebody that likes to train like that, who likes to train for those max lifts, who's going really for a lot of strength, gearing up for that, one, maybe two really heavy sets. What I would recommend is warming up very gradually to that. So you would do maybe a few more warm-up sets than perhaps someone who's using, let's say, I don't want to say a more manageable weight, but I think you know what I mean by manageable weight, a more normal workouts where exercise like 10 to 12 normal speed, that sort of thing. Where if you're powerlifting, you're going to a max lift of maybe 1 to 5 reps type deal. What you're going to want to do is you're actually going to really want to hold back on those warm-ups, but you're going to want to go progressively. So let's say it's a bench press. My math is so terrible. Nobody hold these numbers, okay, accountable, because you're gonna laugh at me. But let's say you do a 315 as your max workout weight. You maybe get your three reps with something like that. So what you'd like to do, what I recommend you do, is just warm up with a plate. You do maybe 10 reps. You could probably do 30 reps, but you don't want to exhaust yourself. You want to save everything up for that big 315 lift. So you do maybe 10 reps with a plate. Then maybe you go up, depending on the day, you might go up to a plate and a half, and you might just go with 8 reps. Then you might go up to 2 plates. Now let's say that 315, you're doing 3 reps. So with 225, you might just do 3 or 4 reps. That's it. And then you'll add another 50 pounds and do another 3 to 4 reps, and then you're ready now for your 315 for 3 to 4 reps. I hope that makes sense. But that's the way that I would recommend it for that kind of training. And I don't know 100% if Greg agrees with me on that sort of thing, but certainly it makes sense to me, and I think he would to some extent anyway. I'm pretty sure that's the way Mike Rahn does it as well. So, if you have any more questions, we got about a minute left. I just like to thank you guys ahead of time for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's nice when people turn out and ask questions and take part in these things. Once again, this broadcast is brought to you from Advanced Genetics. For more information on Advanced Genetics products, please go to agarmy.com. And Advanced Genetics supplements are available at your local supplement shop. And once again, we're proud to introduce you to Warfare Citrus Slam, which is going to be in stores over the next couple weeks. This is our same great formula, but sweetened with stevia for those of you who prefer that option. Thanks for joining me. Please like and share this video. Please tag a friend in it if you think that they would like to watch this as well. We will see you again next Monday, 1 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, right here on this channel. Hoorah!